had a chat that really revealed something that I think so many of us tend to do when we're moving to a new level, but we end up trying to leverage our past to a point where we're actually not growing or evolving or really showing up in the present moment, like alive and present and available to do what it is that we're really capable of. And so I was in this conversation with somebody who expressed a strong interest in getting a new opportunity. And this was going to really shift her future to the trajectory that she wants, right? She can see it, she's motivated, she's done a lot of great work in the past, but she hasn't hopped over this hurdle to enter the new, we call it realm, the marketplace, in a way that really shows or allows her to use her capacity and her energy. And so what was happening was I was giving her several examples to show her kind of what to do and what not to do. And she was like eagerly listening and understanding, or seemingly understanding by nodding and saying, oh yeah, I can see that, I can understand that. And yet it almost, by the end of the conversation, it felt like all that was a bit of a show. And that might be a strange word to use here, because when we got to her and then directing that, now what about you? She kind of just sat back and went into a rather passive state, I'll say, where it was clear that she wasn't particularly motivated or passionate enough to make the shifts that I had just, shared with her through different stories. And so in that moment, it was like it's a moment for her to decide, which side is she on? Is she going to do the things that I was like, these don't tend to work? Or is she going to be on the side of this is what you can do to now shift that? And it's not always obvious to a person who has had previous successes, because what I could see was there was some kind of reliance on, well, yeah, but I've already done, A, B, and C, and I'm already of a certain caliber. I've already, accomplished certain things, so surely something's going to work out. I'm sure it's going to work out. And a very, like I'm all for positive thinking, but sometimes when we use that positive thinking to mask our fears or practical needs right in front of us, it can actually do us more harm. And that's what I sensed was happening. And it is tempting to use our past successes and want to rinse and repeat. Like it's just, something that most of us, it has worked before. Let's just say that. It's often worked for a period of time. But there will come a day, and it'll be that day when you're actually ready to make more of a leap, that suddenly those old approaches, and I'll just say tricks, won't work anymore, no matter how powerful they were or how effective they were before. And so that's why it's absolutely critical that we are in the moment and really connecting to the energy of the future we want to create, the trajectory we want to be on, because that's the energy that is aligned with the actions and the thoughts and the feelings that are going to create this future. Whereas when we look at the past and we rely there, we are actually then immediately tuning into old energies that may have been effective before, but will not take you into your next leap. A leap immediately signifies and implies a shift, a change, something that is altered so that you can step into a new future. And so it's absolutely critical in those moments where if we're not achieving something, we're not getting where we want, and we're like, let me just double down on the old, or, let's just go into like happy, positive thinking and pretend the stress part of it doesn't exist, and the reality doesn't exist. And, we can use things that are out there in the manifestation world, like life is a simulation and all that. And there's truth to it, but it's only relevant when we use it powerfully versus using it to be asleep and just like pretend everything's going to happen for us. And so at that stage, I think in that conversation, my energy probably reflected what I was thinking and feeling more than I might have even needed to say in words, because it was evident that it was like that missing link was not being met by her in the moment. And so this, as I said, is a decision point where of course she can just reflect and process, because sometimes we need to do that. We need to go, wait a second, where was I? And what it can also do is maybe alert her to the point of she's actually not on this trajectory that she keeps saying to everyone that she is, that her desires are actually quite different. And that's what my intuition is telling me, that while she can go down this path that she says, oh yeah, this would be fantastic, it's actually more true that there is something else, deeper values that are currently hidden, that are guiding and leading her in a direction which, if she isn't conscious about it, is just going to send her to the past. And because she's not in a position to actually hang out in the past, it is a time to move forward that can really be detrimental to the vision that she actually has. And so, in a situation like that, my intention is really to go, wait a second, I'm hearing this, but I'm intuiting this other information. I'm feeling and sensing other ideas actually coming from you that you aren't speaking, that you aren't saying. And, in a coaching relationship, that's part of what I do, is that I bring these things to the surface so a person can address them. And sometimes they haven't actually even felt them, like they're there, but they wouldn't articulate it because they're not realizing how much it's actually affecting their decision making. And so going and doing a little shift from, hey, this is how you're going to move forward, these are the things you can do to create success. And that moment is really about moving into, okay, wait a second, I feel like we're missing something that you're not saying out loud that is actually really important in this moment. And in this case, it's like, what are actually your desires? What are you committed to that you're not saying, that it looks like you're going this direction, but in fact, you're kind of holding yourself back because you have these other intentions that are in some ways in conflict to what you say. And the beauty of going through this kind of process of inquiry is that often these two roads can merge and both can be satisfied. There are times that they do diverge and a choice has to be made. But if that's the case, it's usually done in excitement because you've ruled out the things that were kind of like creating fog or noise in the brain, like old energies, old emotions. And when you actually release them, then suddenly like you can like dart forward towards what you actually want now. And when they merge, what happens is like you actually go, okay, these are the values, and I can still have the values with the new thing that I'm looking towards. And then we bring them together. So those are usually kind of the results of what happens. And in either case, or both cases, I should say, what happens is there's energy to move forward. And so that's what I was having this conversation with this particular woman about, to really open her eyes and her awareness to what was going on, the choices she is making, and how to actually make them in the favor of her bigger vision. So I just wanted to share that example because it's something kind of fresh in my mind, and kind of show you the nuances of the different things that can go on within all of us. And by illuminating them and by being able to articulate them, we can then step into our true power, know our true self, and act from that instead of an old self that feels outdated, that isn't going to get us to our true dreams that are available now. So I hope that's been helpful. Please subscribe, and if you want to leave a comment with any questions, please go ahead. And or if you have an example of a situation you're in where you're trying to make a decision and maybe you're coming up against a certain inner conflict, I'm more than happy to comment on that if I can. And if you'd like to work with me, then there is a link in the description box that you can access. But what I'd like you to do after this video is really step forward and go, okay, when it comes to my higher vision, where am I stopping? And why might that be? Is there something that I have been missing about what's actually really important to me that I'm not communicating, I'm not expressing, and I'm not acknowledging for myself? And if I did, I could actually create the kind of future that is going to allow all of me to step forward and move into the kind of momentum that creates the results that I desire.